Welcome back to Get Your Shit Together. I am Belen Salomon, and I am the host of Get Your Shit Together. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone who listened to the podcast, who rated it, who shared it, who followed it. I'm truly so flattered and humbled by the response that I got. As I mentioned last week, I'm doing this just as a passion and hoping to help anyone that I can. And to see the response was just really, really rad. And also just from new people and new supporters and, even a girlfriend of mine that, we've met on just Instagram, and she sent me these incredible flowers and just encouragement. So it's really fucking cool. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who listened, shared, and is into this podcast, because I'm really into it and I'm excited to continue making episodes and eventually having guests on. I have a list of people that I already want to have on who, can give tips and tricks on, how they get their shit together and how they're successful. And I'm super lucky that I have so many friends and colleagues that I can have on the podcast. So I'm here, right here. Fiona's right there. She's got all of her toys, and hopefully she won't cry. So for today's episode, last week's was more like an intro, kind of the gist of what this podcast will be, what you can expect, and the tips. And this episode today, so it's kind of funny because last night I was having dinner with Alejandro, my husband, for those who don't know who Alejandro is. And we were chatting, we were having sushi, and I was telling him, I'm going to record tomorrow because my plan is to record on Fridays and have the episode up on Mondays, because for me, Monday is the day you get your shit together. So every Monday there will be a new episode. So I'm chatting with him. I'm telling him, my episode's going to be about planning ahead. And he kind of chuckled, and I'm like, why are you chuckling? And he's like, well, maybe you should listen to my podcast that I released today. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because it's about how planning ahead is basically ruining everything. And I'm like, great. So I'm like, well, I'm not talking about planning, plan out the next, 6 months, 12 months, 5 years of your life, even though that is something that I do. And it's absolutely something that I'm working on to be a little bit more present and not so frazzled and anxious about what's to come, because that is something that has always been a struggle for me. And it's something that I do and plan to discuss as the podcast progress. And so I said to him, I'm like, well, it's not about that. It's more about planning for the day ahead, what you can do to set yourself up for success, and little things that you can do to plan ahead. And I said, you know what? It's more about being efficient. So with that being said, today's podcast episode is going to be about being efficient and how I am efficient. So because I like to think I run, a very well-oiled machine, if you will, of my life, his life, and just the structure. So I don't know why there was a bug in here. Sorry. So I want to discuss in today's podcast how I am efficient from day to day to my week to my month, and just how these small things of preparing and planning ahead make me successful for the day, for the week, and just optimizing my time so that I can have more free time for whatever I want to do, whether it's going on a longer walk, calling a girlfriend, taking 5 hours to do my skincare, because everyone knows I love my skincare. So I want to backtrack a little bit. I have always been very efficient with my time from a young age. I've always been this way. And even something that really stands out for me is college. I always took morning classes. I'm not a night owl. I never have been. I love my sleep. So that always was a priority for me. I obviously went out. I was super social. I, of course, went to parties. I traveled. I did all of that. But I was never somebody who was like, I need to stay out till 2 or 3 a.m. That was not me. Of course, there was those, nights that I was out late, or, if I was traveling and I was in, maybe New York where clubs stayed open later, or whatever the case was, I would do it. But 90% of the time I was home asleep because I'm a morning person. I always have been. I didn't really necessarily have to train myself. Just from a young age, I always preferred the morning. And which was definitely interesting when I first started dating Alejandro, because he was such a night owl. And I was like, this needs to be like adjusted immediately, because I need to be asleep by like 10:30. So in college, I always took the morning classes, because my thought process, and of course, not everyone thinks this way, and that's why we're all unique. But for me, I was like, okay, if I take the 8 a.m., I'm done by 12. I have the whole fucking day. I can work out, I can cook my meals, I can go to the park, whatever I was going to do. I was being efficient with my time, because I was like, okay, well, I've got all these hours during the day that I can maximize and do whatever I want to do. Versus if I sleep in because I was out the night before and I'm taking a 2 o'clock class, for instance, then my day isn't done till like 6, 7 p.m. And obviously there's people who take night classes. And again, I understand, like, maybe that's the only time you can take a class. But for me, I had the choice. I was, 18, 19 years old, that I could choose to do noon, 2 o'clock, or take that 7:30, 8 a.m. class, and I'm done. In addition to that, I batched my classes so that I only had to go to school, let's say Tuesdays and Thursdays. That way it would leave me the rest of the week free. And that was my thought process. Like, okay, how can I be efficient with my day? And when I made friends and my peers in school, they always thought I was like out of my mind, because I would wake up super early. And by the way, even if I did go out, my ass was up at like 6 a.m. ready to go. It's just how like my brain is wired. So for me, I would rather batch everything, get everything done, and then I'm free. It's kind of like when you're a kid, right? And your mom's like, okay, get your homework done, do this, eat your food, and then you have the rest of the time to play. So that's always kind of been like, okay, if I get everything done, then I have time to play whatever it was that I wanted to do. And that was setting me up for success for the rest of the day, because I could always accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, because I wasn't running behind, or I wasn't frazzled because I didn't do X, Y, and Z. And I was this way also in high school, and of course throughout college. I never waited till the last minute to do an assignment. Why would I wait till the last minute? It creates chaos, it creates stress, anxiety for some. For me, it was like, okay, your assignment is due, March 30th. My assignment was done like March 10th, if that was the day they gave it out. I just will always preferred to, and still do obviously, prefer to be prepared. That last minute, like, oh no, I can't make it to this dinner, or I can't do this because I didn't do my assignment, that shit does not flow for me. I rather have it done, streamlined, efficient, and I know, hey, I can take that extra hour to do whatever I want to do. And I remember when, in school, you would have to partner up with groups, and I was always like, this is how it's going to go. I'm going to be the leader of the pack here, and it's going to get done so that everyone can have their free time. And what's so interesting and ironic is that Alejandro is not like this. He works better under pressure. And there are some people like that. For me, I rather get it out of the way, know it's done, out of sight, out of mind. My mind is clear. And I'm still like that till this day. Like, even with taxes and all these things, when I know they're coming up, I want to be prepared. I don't want to be frazzled. And as simple as a flight, right? So this is the difference between Alejandro and I. Let's say we're going to New York. I know our flight's at 7 a.m. The night before, I'm like, okay, how can I be efficient with our time? How can I make it so that we're not frazzled in the morning? Obviously not me, but more so him. So I start to kind of think, okay, is there gas in the car? I want to be efficient in the morning. I would rather be prepared the night before so that I'm not waking up in the morning. Obviously, there's stressors, where there's traffic, maybe there's weather, there's delays, and sometimes with your partner, there can be conflict. So I would rather not have to be like, oh, P.S., you're running late, now we need to get gas. So this is like how my thought process is, right? I think, okay, I'm going to go the day before and get gas. So that's one less thing, one less obstacle that's in my way. And again, some could say, well, that's so planning ahead. It is. I'm being prepared and I'm being efficient. Same thing goes with if I have the option to check in online, I'm going to check in online because I rather save those extra 15 minutes to sleep or like, put on my skincare or maybe make myself a smoothie, whatever I want to allocate those extra 15 minutes to, I can because I was efficient the day before, the night before, setting myself up for success for that day. I've always, and I still do this, I will set my outfit out the night before if I know I have something the next morning. For instance, a flight. I go to LA, I take the 6:40 a.m. flight. So I'm like, everything is done the night before so that I can be as efficient as possible. Because those extra 10 minutes at 5 a.m. make a huge difference. So I'm like, all right, my toiletries are packed, my luggage is packed, and my outfit, my underwear, my socks, everything is ready to roll so that there is no wiggle room for me to have any sort of chaos in the morning because, again, for me and how I think about this, it's going to set me up for success because I'm going to get in my car. I know there's going to be gas. I'm not going to be like, oh, fuck, now I have to do this. I have to do that. There's an accident. I can't predict that. There's nothing I can do about that. So instead, I've got those extra few minutes for me. Maybe I want to go get an Us Weekly magazine. Maybe I want to get a almond latte at Starbucks. I don't know. I don't know what my mood's going to be, but I sure know that my mood is going to be much calmer because I was efficient the night before. And I do this even if I have an event to go to or birthday dinner, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to start thinking about what I want to wear so that I don't put myself in a situation where I'm frazzled. And that to me all ties into being efficient with my time because my time is valuable. And I would so much rather have an extra 10, 15, 30 minutes to leisurely do something such as getting, a coffee, a magazine, whatever it is at the airport. And what this has done for me my whole life has always made me a step ahead in a sense. And of course I have days where I run late. And of course I have days where maybe I forgot to get gas. But it's not so much about being like strict and rigid. The whole point of me of even having like the podcast is it's just about making small changes that become habits, that become a lifestyle. And, I feel like if I can help one person not feel frazzled in the morning because maybe perhaps the night before they thought, oh, okay, well, maybe I will plan out my meal so it's done. That's another example. You're being efficient. At night, there's simple things that I do. I literally fill up our teapot with water because we have a French press so that in the morning when I walk out, I just hit on. It's so simple. It's so tiny and insignificant, but it's just one less thing I need to even think about because it's saving me a couple, even a minute of filling up the teapot in the morning. So everything's kind of ready to roll in the morning. There's never dishes in my sink. It's bad juju. And also I do things as I go, right? So if I'm cooking, let's say usually I make 2 meals because sometimes Alejandro and I eat differently. So right now I'm very much back on eating primarily plant-based. And so if I'm making, let's say 2 pastas, so I'm doing veggie-based and maybe I'm making him a bolognese. So as I'm making the food and I'm done with the pot or the dish, I'm washing as I go so that I don't have this clusterfuck at the end of making 2 meals and it's just chaos in my kitchen. And then I can't sit down and we want to watch a TV show and I can't relax because there's shit all over the kitchen. I'm being efficient. I'm okay, I'm done with this pot. I'm going to wash it. I'm going to put it to dry. And it's just, why not get it out of the way? Does that make sense? Just go do as you're going. That way, when I'm done eating, it's just the plates that I have to wash. And my mom has always been this way. And I remember growing up, always being why are you like this? Why do we have to clean the dishes after we eat? I'm full and this and that. And it's because it's going to be done. Why wouldn't you want it done? And it's it's so true. Put it away. It's going to look better anyways. It's not going to be everywhere. And you have a clean environment, and you're being more efficient, as simple as washing the dishes as you're cleaning. And I've always been this way. Same thing with like, even laundry. Like I'm like, okay, well, it's going to look much better put away in the drawer than it's going to be in the basket. I'm going to be efficient. And, you can do this in small steps. And for me, I love Sundays. I love Sundays and I love Mondays. But I love Sundays because I feel like, okay, how can I set myself up for the week to be as efficient as possible? What can I tackle today? So that maybe Monday I can be a little bit more like, Monday's work. So I can tackle A, B, and C. That's where the planner comes in. And I'm just thinking more like, how can I optimize my time so I can spend more time doing something that brings me joy, me happiness, as simple as taking a bath or, again, calling a girlfriend. And so on Sundays, I think, okay, if I don't have time to go to the grocery store, I'll maybe order the groceries online so that I can be more efficient with how Monday is going to unfold. Maybe I have a shoot, maybe I have a conference call, whatever it's going to be. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if I order the groceries, it can be here at this time, and then I know I'm gonna have my fridge will be stocked. It's almost just like being one step ahead of being behind. And again, these are small things that you can do, such as, like I said, filling up my teapot, not having dishes in the sink, because if that's something I'm leaving at night, that's going to affect me in the morning. So instead, if you do something as you go, it's a win-win because you're being efficient and you're saving more energy to put into something else that you want to do. And these small things that I do daily, like the teapot, of course, the dishes, and also, I'm very kind of aware of, this is going to sound ridiculous, but like, if I'm running low on like toilet paper or milk, like I want to be efficient because I don't want to be like, oh my God, we don't have this, we don't have that. I just rather be like prepared for whatever the day is going to throw at me, if I can, of course. And for me, this has set me up to be successful and be able to kind of get everything done in my day. And of course, like my businesses and how I've been able to kind of multitask and run multiple businesses, run our household, run our schedules, and help even like any one of my friends if they need a little bit of structure. It's just about being efficient and having structure in your life, as simple as preparing the evening before, putting your outfit out, filling up your coffee pot, and just going to bed like, okay, the morning's not going to be so chaotic. And something else that I do to really help to be efficient is like, I put do not disturb on my phone. Like once I think it's like 8:30 or 9 p.m., it goes on do not disturb. Periodically, I'll check just in case maybe my mom called or a friend or something. Of course, there's always that exception. But I find myself being more efficient if I'm not being distracted and bombarded with emails and texts or whatever it is. And that way I'm resting easier knowing, okay, everything's kind of smooth. My kitchen's clean. My couch is fluffed, whatever it is. Everyone's different. These are the things that work for me. These are the things that make me feel good throughout the day and allow me to able to kind of dabble into all of my businesses and still tend to me and still tend to Fiona and Alejandro. And if that means I have to wake up a little bit earlier to get in an extra 30 minutes to work out, I'm going to do that because at the end of the day, we have to prioritize ourselves so that we're taken care of. I can get all the support that I need and like hope to have, but if I'm not setting myself up for success and supporting my needs, I'm not going to be efficient. So, of course that's taken, years for me to learn. And now that I'm in my mid 30s, I know this and I can prioritize what's important to me. And being efficient with my time is something, that is very important to me. And same with Alejandro, we have to respect each other's boundaries, and what's important to him might not be important to me and vice versa. And, if I see him struggling, being efficient, I'll give my support and tips or whatever it is. So if you're someone listening to this and you're thinking like, fuck, man, I'm not efficient. I'm overwhelmed. I'm frazzled. I'm this and that. Just do something small. Just be a little bit more aware. Be more aware of your surroundings. Maybe as simple as looking at your gas tank. If you know in the morning you have an important meeting or you're taking a workout class or you have to go to the airport, just be a little bit more mindful so that you can be more efficient with your time. And, also like with food, like if you're somebody who, maybe wants to eat a little bit healthier and cleaner, prepare the night before. If you are somebody who, works in an office and you can't, you're at your desk or whatever the case is, like prepare ahead. Just plan ahead, be efficient. Think, okay, maybe tomorrow I'll have a salad or I'll have, veggies with a rice bowl, whatever it is. Just feel like you are optimizing your time so that you can be efficient. And that's kind of, the goal with this podcast is to give small tips that work for me, that make me efficient. So for me, to kind of round out what works for me is making sure I'm setting enough time to do whatever's going to make me feel calm, zen, and, clear-minded. So as I mentioned last week, making my bed is something that, is important to me and it makes me feel put together and efficient for the day. Maybe for someone that's putting on, full face of makeup, getting dressed, whatever those small things are that make you feel efficient. And so for me, it's making the bed the night before, the evening before, preparing for the next day ahead. Just being more mindful of how I want my day to go. If I set myself up for success, 99%, I'm probably going to have a more successful day than of me not being efficient the night before and waking up like, oh my God, I didn't do this or this is missing. So as much as I can be efficient the night before for the day ahead, I'm going to do. And maybe it's the next day is Sunday and I'm not going to feel like, oh, I don't need to do X, Y, and Z. But if it's Sunday evening and I've got a crazy week ahead, or I know I'm traveling, or I have a friend coming into town, I want to be able to give as much time of me to that person so that I'm not feeling like so many things are out of order and that they weren't done because I chose to not be efficient with my time. So if you're walking away, if there's one thing I'd like for you to walk away from this podcast and this episode is to try and be efficient the evening before, whether it's planning your meal, planning your coffee out, your outfit, and, I don't know, maybe it's tidying up or getting gas in your car. Small shifts make big impacts. And that is my tip for how to be efficient. So I hope it helps. And the last thing I want to say is my goal with this podcast is I think I mentioned this last week, but I never want anyone to walk away feeling like they are overwhelmed by whatever tips I'm giving. I'm hoping you walk away feeling like, fuck yeah, I can do that small thing. And that is truly what I hope resonates with each episode as I do them and the tips that I give. So you can find me on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, and thank you for listening and liking and following and all those good things. And I'm excited to get more into a solid rhythm and also any, topics you would like for me to touch on, please let me know and I will chat with you guys next week.